Welcome back to Building Remnant. In our last episode, what did we do in our last episode? Oh yeah, we were showing off the unarmed capabilities of the Leto set. I know I said I wasn't going to do any of the beginning sets, and the cultist set technically is, but hear me out. This used to be a setup that was used for summoning. And, rightly so, because you have the background mod generation, so you don't have to be up in the fight, which allows you to use long distance stuff and have your pets go out and increase your ranged and melee damage, heal you for the percentage of damage they do, and, here's a little more generation and damage for them. And it's a really good setup. So, the thing being, now that you have the Labyrinth armor to do more damage with the summons themselves, it's a little more, we'll go to ROM. It's a little more useful to, give them the straight up damage instead of the duration, and then take the duration instead from the cultists and use it for a support class. If you happen to be playing with your friends and you want to have longevity with your Song of Swords or your Howler's immunity or what have you, then that's where it's more beneficial. And on the other hand, you can use it offensively to have your swarm doubled in time is ridiculous. I mean, everything in the area will die. So that's where it's more useful. But I personally just love using summon builds in the first place. Always remember to pet your puppy. Come on, let me pet. Give me the pets. Oh, you're not gonna give me the pets? I saw it. Give it to me. Come on now. Pet the pooch. There we go. Alright, so now that we petted a pooch, you could see earlier we had a 25% mod damage increase. Now it's 30, as well as, 5% overall for us, 5% for him. And then after you're done petting the pooch. Now if you pet the next one that you summon, it's on a cooldown. I want to say it's like 3 minutes. I'm not entirely sure. You'd have to look that up. But now everybody does a little more damage. Now they won't attack anything until they sense it or you see it and attack it. But that's where it's, very beneficial. Just let them run through everything. That's why I like using them here on ROM. The only downside is I shoot my dog all the time. Just because dog is... when they're done sensing things in the area, they will run back to you. So a dog running at me, first instinct is to pop it off. I mean, that's... am I a bad person? No. That's just safe. And again, you'll be able to bring him out whenever just because you have this regen in the background. But this isn't the summon setup that I like using. Yeah, see? I almost just shot him. And I always wish this game would have a cooldown timer, like, to show you on them. Like, if you were aimed at them, give me a health bar and a cooldown timer. It would be nice. But you can see that they've cleared out a path for me. I didn't even engage in any combat myself. They're still sticking around for a bit. And while they're out, they're increasing my ranged and melee damage in case I do need to engage with something. Yeah. Now, I had shown a pseudo-summon build with the Twisted set. The Corrupted set. Yeah, it's the set that'll increase your melee and mod damage. Because it gets that mod damage increase, not to mention you have health regen, and you can use the Ring of Supremacy to boost the summons themselves. Because you stay in the back, don't take any damage. At least that's the idea. And then, you get here. It does become a little bit of a pain, because we still have the damage buff from petting the dog earlier, and you just gotta watch because there's no obvious indicator. Again, it's one of the things I like about this game is it won't hold your hand. But a lot of people get bored doing this, to be completely honest, with this kind of summon build, because you're just letting them run around, do whatever, while you're still undiscovered. I'm running the sniper rifle and the hunting pistol just because they have great mod generation. If you really wanted to stay silent and out of the way, you could take your twin shot and whatnot. You know, the silent firing weapons. But I would like to show how I do a summon build. Which, not the best, but we're gonna go with the hollow there because we're gonna go Seeker here. Now the Seeker Beetle is the interesting part of all this. It's gonna be the one we're using more often than not. But you're gonna take 2 pieces, you know your preference of which 2 pieces, but 2 pieces of the Labyrinth armor. I prefer the Mystic skin, and then 1 piece of the Cultist armor, which I prefer the Ritualist hat. But we're gonna change this to the Vulcan's Detonator. Gonna keep the Soul Link, and then we're gonna go with the Soul Ember. Now what the Soul Ember does is it will decrease the health of your summons by 60%, but on death they will explode, dealing 150 plus 15 per weapon level within 4 meters. So most of my weapon levels are 10 or 20. That's one of the reasons I like doing it with the machine pistol and the beam rifle, because you get that extra 10 levels. But summons that normally explode will deal 25% bonus damage. So between that 25% bonus to explosion and this 25% bonus to explosion, your Seeker Beetles now do 50% more explosive damage. They light targets on fire. And they have just as good a scout range as the puppy dog here. Easy buddy, good boy. Now, one of the things you can do, even though it, again, gets a little hectic, you can pet the dog on one weapon and then switch to what you need and take the boost, but I find that to be a little convoluted. So same concept, staying out of the way and quiet, but we're gonna send our Seeker Beetles to do all the work. You know, they're in the background generating slowly. If you wanted them to generate faster, you could take off the Ember and not... Because, I'm not gonna lie, most of the time the explosion that just happened to that puppy does not go off correctly. Either the thing dies and there's a delay, or it doesn't die properly and doesn't explode. But the hollows are the best thing to use whenever it comes to that. Because what you do is you find your enemy, and once they're engaged with said enemy, you shoot the hollow, not the enemy. Can be really useful with the ricochet rifle, just because again they have decreased health. But now you see they decided to take something else out that explodes on death, so then they exploded wastefully. So now that's why I just like to rely on the Seeker Beetle. Although sometimes they seem to get stuck. But again, any damage you take, they're gonna heal up. I mean, not any damage, but you get the idea. But it's massive health back off of the explosions that the Seekers do. You don't get health back, if you didn't notice just there, you do not get health back off of the Soul Embers explosion. So normally what I prefer to do, just because you don't really need much more damage added, go to our good old Gift of the Iskall. Because yeah, it's going to take away a little bit of the healing effectiveness, but the yeah, you can see how much faster now we're generating those mods. It allows you to pump your beetles a lot more often, pump your hollows a lot more often. And again, the hollows honestly just do fantastic amounts of damage in the first place. Now, why didn't y'all get blown up that time? Oh, the irony. Hi there. How are you? And not to mention they are a bit of a distraction because they have some stagger potential. Not much, but some. And they do kind of act like a bit of a scout sometimes. And the way I say a scout is because if they're not standing back in front of you, but you can hear them, then that means they're engaged in conflict with someone. Yep. But you see now I'm not close enough to whatever they were fighting. So no, they're not looking for it. There we go. Now, here's a downside because, as you can probably guess, the Seeker Beetle's not going to have the best time trying to reach it. It still can when it gets low enough, but there will be times it'll be just out of its reach and it'll go for the explosion and miss. Of course, you know, nothing's ever foolproof. And again, if you wanted to, you could run around with a whole chain of beetles you've summoned, but the problem is they're incredibly slow to follow you. And they'll all go for the same target that way, so it's best to use them spaced out. I'm going backwards because ROM dungeons stink. I mean, they must. Look at all the ectoplasmic goop everywhere that can't smell good. But it's quite easy to see. Watch. We had two of them go to the same target and only cause enough damage with one of the explosions. I find it's best sometimes to do the good old mod swap to space them out. That way you don't panic press, per se. And a whole nother benefit to having the summons is, again, if you're not sure where to go, just follow them. Just because they're hunting down enemies. Like, they went up here to take out things up there. You know, that buys me some time to go the actual direction I need to, but if you're following them and they're going around just taking out everybody on the map, then that also means that you're exploring all of the map with them. See what I'm saying? Your best scout has got to be the dog, because he's fast, he has a very high range of sense when it comes to finding enemies. The hollows don't have that much of a sense, aren't that fast. The, what other summons? The skulls, they're not the greatest. They will travel, but slowly. They're not very accurate, but they're just as powerful as the hollows. A little less damage potential because, again, even if they are hitting every hit, they don't attack at the same speed as the hollows would. But they do stay out of your way. You also have the turrets. They are stationary and have a limited range of sense when it comes to an enemy. but they're actually very easy to generate, especially with the setup I got going on. And you can have two of them out at a time. So, and again, all of these, any summon option can heal you. The only one that can't is the rattleweed because it's a distraction thing. Now, I believe I have faced these guys on the channel before. If not, that was a, practice video. And if I remember correctly, I was defeated once before I got them. Yeah, I want to say that was our mod video. Ironically enough, here I am in the same armor setup that I had then. But different mods, different accessories. Now here's a benefit to the summons. They can get inside their shields. You can see how easily they interrupted everything. You can see how I'm getting small health back from the hollows attacking. I'm getting large chunks of it back. Oh, getting large chunks of it back from the Seekers. And again, you're also getting that 30% duration bonus towards your hollows just because you're wearing one piece to the cultist. Yeah.
That was rough.
Made that seem like a walk in the park compared to our other mod setup. But again, it's all in what you're comfortable playing. It's very easy to micromanage a couple of other things doing damage, especially when they're healing you. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this its own separate video and not just lump it in with other mods, because when it comes to survivability, summoners have, I think, I would put it a third of the list. Because there's better survivability out of the Warlord set and the Bleed, but you have that major con of having to keep buffing yourself with the Dragonheart. With this, it's a constant as long as the summons are out. It's easy to keep the summons constantly out with this mod generation setup. Not to mention, there's even more mod generation on the bigger things because they take burning damage. So, personally, I call it the Seeker spam. It makes sense, and it really is fantastic, especially if you just prefer to have all your minions take care of them. But, yeah. Oh, wait a second. Because I want to say, if you find this sigil on ROM, there's always an item down. Yup. And it is the Soul Link, which, again, if you're going to build any kind of summon build, I suggest the survivability of the Soul Link. But now you know where to get it. Farm ROM. Hope you find the Labyrinth Armor Totem, which I do believe those were added in. I know the Labyrinth Armor was a DLC thing. I'm not entirely sure if the Soul Link was. I can't recall. But, yeah. I was just Lady Luck benefiting my video, showing where to get a key part of this whole setup. Now again, if you wanted to, you could, find other mod generation. Another way to handle this, if you wanted to go for even more mod damage, just take your burden of the follower and get more involved in the combat itself. But I personally, if you're gonna have minions, why would you be involved in the combat? See what I'm saying? I had a comment because of the dots video of the damage over time and having, a little bit of fire here and some bleeding there. Why not a straight elemental build? I think I'm gonna make a video on that next, just because they're not. It's not that they're bad. It's that they're specialized. So if you're comfortable with it, run with it. They really are self-explanatory, honestly. As long as you have the item that enhances your element, go with it. Also take the prismatic diamond ring. It's that simple. Just boost your elemental damages. But I'm not entirely sure. There's really not much more I can do to demonstrate my builds in this game. Everything else I really don't run. The only one that is popular and suggested would be a Slayer build. So I think I'll just go ahead and make one more video of Slayers and Elementals. But I hope you found this informative and enjoyable, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.